Hey there, I'm Lockie and welcome back to the Capo Cafe. I hope you have your cup of coffee on you because today we're going to be discussing Prequelle, my favourite Ghost album. Now, Prequelle is a very interesting and theatrical album playlist whereby each song is a piece in a massive jigsaw puzzle of a sort of linear story. We get this tale of trust and betrayal and heartbreak and pain and agony, and it's all sewn together with this sort of niche medieval plague times fabric that I just love, and I think it's such a palpable comment on the concept that Ghost pushes in their theatrical performances. Now, Ghost's albums have a fashion of either being a comment on a certain concept or an idea or representing something larger. For Popestar, from the album cover alone, we get a picture of what looks like a pope and a king, or two popes fighting for control in a battle of chess, with the pawns representing people, society, Europe at the time, and Papa Emeritus standing tall above the shining light in the darkness. Just like Ghost's recent cover of Jesus He Knows Me, this is commenting on the hypocrisy of Christianity and its sort of monopolization of human life. It should also be noted that on the Prequelle album art, there is a redux portrait of Pope Innocent X sitting atop the throne of hell with Cerberus beneath him. So it's kind of a comment on maybe the church bringing hell on Earth, and as you can see, there's demons surrounding them, broken down, run down medieval castles and stuff. You can see he's sitting atop broken rampart towers and things, so the church is one of the enemies here. But if Popestar is a comment on Christianity, Prequelle is a comment on Satanism. That's right, the satanistic band itself, Ghost, seems to deliver a sort of comment on the nature of trusting the devil. We get a story in Prequelle of a man who is offered eternal life in a time of great despair and ravaging and death amidst the turbulent times of the Black Death in the 1300s. The devil whispers into his mind, corrupts it, and tells him that he cannot live without him. He is nothing without him. He is just a mortal man who is destined to dust. And this breaks the guy. He realizes that he needs some higher power, some authority, and not from God, because God has led him astray, to survive and outlive this finite existence that is ultimately painful. But, as all good things are, it was superficial. He takes the deal, and he is granted eternal life, but the condition is that his lover dies in his arms, and he has to live out his existence without her. Now, that is just my interpretation of Prequelle. The beauty of music and art in general is that your interpretation is just as valid as mine. But Prequelle has always stood out as that to me. A story of love, loss, betrayal, and heartache. I'm going to go through the songs, not numerically or alphabetically, but in the order that I think they fit the most chronologically. They are sorted in a somewhat linear fashion, however, I think there are key ideas and concepts brought up in certain songs like Witch Image and Pro Memoria and Dance Macabre that kind of fall in place before Ashes or Faith. So I just spent about 25 minutes writing up a little outline of what I think happens in each respective song. And I've listed the tracks in the chronological order that I think they fit. So I'm just going to go through them one at a time and explain exactly why I feel how I feel. Now keep in mind your interpretation will differ, this is just how I see it. So we start off with Miasma. There are whispers of a plague. This is the calm before the storm. Something sinister is coming. And within the church, corruption is rampant. A divine intervention is due, just like all the biblical ones before it. Then we follow up with Faith. There is a scourge in the guise of sanctity, we hear. A perpetrator with a quill. Some higher power is authoring a greater scheme, an event, and this event is meant to once again reap humanity's sins and cleanse it of all evil. An evil that has pervaded everything, sourced directly from an institution that should dispel it. The church. Then we get rats, and this is where the true horrors begin. Rats crowd urban centers both physically and metaphorically, congregating in holy sites, a sign from above that the church's duplicity, the myths it has spun, and the pretenses it has ordered to fiend the souls of its citizens away, shall come to an end. Into your sanctum you let them in. Now all your loved ones and all your kin will suffer the punishments beneath the wrath of God. And this is where things start to kick into gear. We get Ashes, with that classic ring-a-ring-a rosies, pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down. That classic nursery rhyme hymn, signaling plague times and the origin of why we say bless you today. The end is nigh, and humanity will pay the price. Judgment Day is upon us. Then we get into Dance Macabre. Amidst the turmoil, the death, the ravaging, mass graves lining the streets, corpses dotting houses scattered like morbid house decor, a common man shares one last dance with his terminally ill wife. She has contracted the plague, and this is the last bout. He doesn't want it to end like this, but something in her eyes says it could be the last time. Then see the light, Lucifer's ode. The man is visited by the devil. Initially, he is fearful, untrusting. This is the devil's work, after all. But of all of the demons I've known, signaling people, maybe, none could compare to you, he says. But Lucifer tempts him. You could have eternal life, he says. Drink me, eat me, then you'll see the light, the truth. Pro memoria, Lucifer seals the deal as the man is so apprehensive. He corrupts the man's mind. Don't you want to live forever? Be happy? You're only mortal, remember? With everyone around you perishing, do you want that fate? Don't you forget about dying. Don't you forget about your friend death. Don't you forget that you will die. He's offering life eternal, but he hints at a fine print that the man skims over. Navigate all alone on this tempestuous sea to ride with me. If he takes the deal, he'll be forever alone, just like Lucifer. Which image comes next? The man has taken the deal, but he immediately realizes his fatal mistake. He's immortal now, but his wife isn't. The devil mocks him. You've never stood so close to where you wanted to be, between me and the deep blue sea. You never wanted me to appear, you'd never want it to be over. He reminds him, though, that he didn't want to die. You never wanted to reach out to the edge of time. He's telling him that he took this deal for a reason, and that it's his fault. But now the man is faced with reality, and looks down to his dying wife. As you sleep in earthly delight, immortality, every man's foolish dream, someone's flesh is rotting tonight, like no other to you. He mocks the man once more. What you've done, you cannot undo. You've sold your soul to the devil, fool. What's done is done. We also get some neat references to the fact that this is like the apocalypse. Perhaps an alternative history is at play, as at least 2 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are noted. Devil says, I'm riding in the shadows behind you on a pale white horse. The white horse is usually identified as conquest, or in this case the pestilence, the plague, so like the vehicle for punishment, whereas the pale horse is seen as death. So is Lucifer both? Is this his doing? Or are they just both of them 2 separate people, all the same horsemen watching on as everyone is killed as the end is nigh? We follow up with Helvetesfonster. I don't speak, I'm imagining it's German, I don't know how to pronounce it, my bad. The man navigates the stages of grief. He's in denial. How could he be so stupid? It's a somber, painful, dreadful ballad as he reflects on the stupid decision he made to trust the devil, to trust any higher power in this time. Then finally, life eternal comes around. The man cradles his wife as she passes, her skin a terrain of abuse, of sickness, death. Death has marked her. This is the moment of just letting go, she says, as the darkness grows darker down below. Lucifer watches on in sickening delight. Somebody feels how he does now. And there we come to the finish line of Prequelle, and this is how I interpret it. It is a direct story, a linear story of betrayal, love, sadness, death, and despair, and it is just so palpable and interesting to me, and it really paints a picture. If you listen to it all in track list order, it is so, like in sequential order, is so powerful, and it elicits that image, it creates that image of medieval Europe just up in flames, and corpses lining the streets, and the plague spreading, and people in despair, and these people, God, the devil, just taking advantage of people. We don't know who the real villain is here. It feels like a massive departure from the anti-God sentiments in other Ghost albums, where there is another story at play. So I feel like it's a jab at both. You can't trust anyone. You have to trust in yourself. And everything was too good to be true in the end. It was inefficacious, and that's just, I think, a really good message to send. Not particularly not to trust in your faith, but to understand that there is always a complex serpentine system at play in everything you do. And I don't know, Prequelle is just such an interesting album, and if you haven't listened to it, I implore you to. Just like all the other Ghost albums, I'm planning on breaking down probably Impera next, which has less of a direct story that I can ascertain, but it's still interesting nonetheless, and I really want to deep dive into that, because there's some great tracks to discuss in there, like Spillways, Griffwood, Call Me Little Sunshine, Respite on the Spital Fields. There's just so much we can talk about there. So, thank you so much for sitting here and listening to my interpretation of Prequelle, because I love this album so much. I'm probably going to go blast it while I'm editing this video. So thank you so much for joining me in another episode, I guess, on Da Capo Cafe. I hope that cup of coffee was great, and I will see you next time, hopefully when I'm discussing another Ghost album. Cheers.